Hi, I'm Steve Sleeper for AMI Environmental, where we make environmental problems go away. And I'm here with Doug Marshall, who's an industrial hygienist with AMI Environmental. We're doing a series of videos on industrial hygiene. And a couple of questions I got for you, Doug, and I'll just ask the first one. With industrial hygiene, it's a broad category. But one of the things that you look at are noise assessments. How do you go about doing that?
Well, Steve, what we do is we go into a facility. A lot of times what we'll do is noise mapping. We'll go around to areas that the client has helped us identify that are noise producing areas in their facility, and generally what we look for is certain decibel levels in those work areas, and we also look at the hearing protection that's provided to the employees that are working in those areas. Now, past a certain point of noise exposure, we follow that up with recommendations and services for our clients that put personal noise dosimetry on those employees that have to work around those areas to see whether or not they exceed the OSHA limits for noise exposure.
Now, what about another exposure assessment that you would do? I mean, noise is certainly an exposure assessment, but chemical exposure assessments. Tell me about that.
Well, chemical exposures are regulated by permissible. We're given regulatory limits for permissible exposure limits, or TLVs, which are threshold limit values. Those come from a couple of different agencies. Right now there is somewhere around 70,000 chemicals in use in industry, and only around 700 of those are given regulatory guidelines.
Oh, really?
So that leaves a big window of interpretation open for the rest of those things. And what we do is help our clients identify the risk involved in exposures in those other arenas as well, but especially in regards to the published regulatory limits, the governmental regulatory limits. And then there's also authoritative guidance that we can go by from studies or toxicological studies or stuff like that to help our clients determine what the risk is in the exposure in the workplace, and especially in chemical manufacturing environments. But it's just not that, because almost every place that there's work going on, there's work-related hazards.
Right, right. Thanks, Doug. For a free consultation, go to industrialhygieneami.com or call 402-397-5001 and ask for Doug Marshall.